It is game one of a weekend series between the Yankees and the Brewers from Milwaukee. The Yankees are going for their fifth consecutive victory and their 88th win on the season. My recap, your reactions coming up next. This is Yankees Game Night. Yikes. I'd ask how you're doing, everybody, but I think I already know. If you're like me, your weekend is off to a tough start, but thank you for spending your early Saturday morning with me. Now, this was not a high-profile game for the Yankees. It didn't have the same billing as something like the Tampa Bay Rays or the Houston Astros, but this has to be considered one of the worst losses of the season. You jump out to a 5-0 lead in the second inning with your biggest trade deadline acquisition on the mound, and all he needs to do is throw strikes and not get hammered. And he could do neither. He still managed to lose the game. Another trash outing for Frankie Montas. I should say Montas. He makes Yankees fans moan in agony whenever we have to watch him. I swear, I'd rather have dental work done with no Novocaine than have to sit through another Frankie Montas start, but it is what it is. Another late error by IKF on a very fieldable ground ball at shortstop. And another tough inning for Clay Holmes, who has reverted to the guy who couldn't get anybody out for a brief time. He's not walking guys as much, but not as wild, but hitting too many bats. Hitting way too many bats. I also find it amazing that the Yankees refuse to play one of their top three prospects, depending on the list you read, Oswald Peraza. I mean, what they're doing to this kid just does not seem right. Call him up and then just sit him. Don't even let him sniff the game, especially after he played well last week. Bottom line, you lead 5-0 in a game. You've got to be able to finish it off. And though there were some opportunities, Yankees did leave, probably at least 10 men on base. It comes down to the pitching, not executing. Mainly Frankie Montas. This one was all on Montas, in my opinion. Yankees actually came out with some energy in the first inning. Aaron Judge picked up an infield single to lead off the game. If he ends up winning the Triple Crown by one hit, think back to that. Yankees were all over the Brewers. Gleyber Torres with a double. Donaldson had a sac fly. IKF with another big hit with runners in scoring position. Marwin Gonzalez hit one up the middle. Before I was, able to even sit down, it was 3-0 Yankees. Let me just double check something real quick in the stats on IKF. Yeah, IKF 1 for 3, hitting .268. I was wondering if he had a couple of hits, but anyway. So the Yankees came out. They jump out 3-0. And Frankie Montas was just atrocious in the first inning. Ended up loading the bases, but somehow he got out of it. He actually came into this game with the Yankees having a 5.94 ERA since the trade. And it has to have gotten worse. Top two, Judge had a check swing line drive for his second hit of the night. It's starting to feel like he's getting a lot of breaks and moving up the ladder towards that Triple Crown. We'll see. Yankees got a couple of more runs on a fielder's choice and an error that made it 5-0. Bottom two, Frankie Montas was just pure unwatchable. Just unwatchable. Couldn't throw a strike. And when he finally did, it became a 427-foot, 3-run home run. Not sure if I agree with StatCast on that one. It looked like it was 450, 460 if it was an inch. Just a mammoth shot over the bullpen. Regardless, he's just a bad pitcher. He's just a terrible pitcher. I will say this for him, though. He works agonizingly slow. This has got to go down as one of the worst Brian Cashman moves, maybe one of the worst trade deadline moves by any team, by any GM in history. Montas now 6.27 ERA with the Yankees. Thank you to the commenters for diving on that. Bottom of the third, Meredith and Michael were talking about Meredith's potential wedding, and apparently she doesn't want to get married for a long time. She said maybe 20 or 30 years. And Michael K. reacted to the prospect of having to stay alive for 20 to 30 more years in such a way, it was hilarious. He's like, 20 to 30 more years? Oh, it was hilarious. And very relatable after watching Frankie Montas pitch, to be honest. Frankie was yankied after 3 1/3 innings, 4 hits, 4 walks, 4 runs, 1 terrible pitcher.
From there on out, things just got worse.
Jose Trevino had to leave the game after getting hit by a foul ball on the right knee. Official diagnosis is right knee contusion. Domingo Germán came in for the 5th inning. He was actually electric in the 5th. Ran into some trouble in the 6th, but Magic Wandy got him out of it. Peralta just continues to be really, really good. I mean, just really reliable. Trevino struck out the side in the 7th. He was good. And then IKF made a nice pick at second in the bottom of the 8th, but then he booted a ground ball that I thought he should have made. I mean, Michael K. was saying that it was a tough play. And yeah, maybe it was a tough play, but it's a play that a major league shortstop in the 8th inning of a tie game has to make. If it's the 1st inning, maybe you're just not loose yet, not into the rhythm of the game yet, I can understand that. But in the bottom of the 8th inning of a tie game in a pennant race, you got to make that play. I'm sorry. Where's my, hang on. There we go.
We spend $250 billion a year on defense.
Top 9, Josh Donaldson led off the inning with a solo home run off the left field foul pole, home run number 14 from him. Cabrera followed up with a double, but he was stranded, as were many Yankees hitters tonight. Bottom 9, Clay Holmes came in and promptly gave up a double, and then he spent the rest of the inning trying to keep him from scoring. Ultimately, unsuccessfully, Brewers win. Jaden says, put Peraza at short and IKF at third. We were doing good when they were there. Appreciate it. Appreciate the comment. Now, you have to look at this a couple of ways. Now, IKF did have a base hit and an RBI today. Josh Donaldson drove in 3 runs at third base. And Peraza, hasn't played in 4 or 5 days. So how effective would you expect him to be when you put him in? That's the problem with sitting them right now. I mean, now if he comes in, he's going to struggle and it's going to hurt his confidence. It's going to hurt his development. I mean, that's a play you got to make. That's just a simple backhand play. He was trying to make a throw before he had the ball. So he was bringing the glove up. Tough. Scotto says K is old AF. I'm sure he's going to love hearing that. I think he's in his 60s. He can make it another 20 or 30 years. Oh, man. GG says, do you think we'll hit 100 wins? Absolutely not. No way. First of all, if they do clinch, they're going to take their foot off the gas for sure and not even try the last few games. Well, they have no incentive to try and win those because they're not going to get home field advantage. The Astros clinched the playoffs today, and the Yankees still trying to wrap up the division. And it's not going to be easy. They've got to play better baseball than they did tonight, for sure. Let's take a look at the box score. We are getting Bader back pretty soon, so that's good. Getting Severino back soon. Yankees actually hit okay tonight. They had 11 hits. A lot of them were early in the game. Judge had 2 hits. Stanton 0 for 4. He looked really bad tonight. Just looked awful. Torres 2 for 5. Donaldson 1 for 3 with the home run, 3 RBIs. Oswaldo Cabrera. Look how many positions he played. He played right field, first base, left field, and then first base again. Unreal. 2 for 2 with 3 walks, so he was on base all night long. Kinder Falefa 1 for 3 with the ribby and a walk. Gonzalez 1 for 3 with a walk. And Duhar 0 for 2 with a couple of strikeouts. He got hosed on a pitch that was out of the zone, and it ended up getting Aaron Boone tossed. He loves getting out there and arguing for the third strike, arguing for his hitters. I'll give him that. Trevino 0 for 3 and had to leave the game, obviously. Higashioka 0 for 2. Hicks actually picked up a couple of hits tonight. He's up to 212 on the season. Also struck out badly a couple of times. Taking a look at the pitchers. I mean, look how many pitchers the Yankees had to use tonight. Montas got to pitch better. 3 1/3, 4 hits, 4 runs, 4 walks, 2 strikeouts, 1 home run allowed. On the season combined with Oakland, he's got a 4.05 ERA. And as somebody mentioned, ERA over 6 with the Yankees so far. Litke gave up a couple of hits, not his best night. Weissert got a single out. It was a strikeout. Herman, 1 2/3 scoreless baseball. Allowed a couple of base runners. Peralta got out of the inning. Trevino struck out the side. I thought he looked great. Probably could have gone an extra inning with him. Loaizaga gave up a run. Didn't look as sharp tonight. And Holmes obviously continues to struggle. Xavier with the comment of the night says, why don't they send Montas to Chapman's tattoo artist? Wow. That's funny. That's a good one. Parks and Young says Jeff Nelson is so much better than Beltran. You know who Jeff Nelson looks like to me? Did you guys ever watch that old movie? It's from the 80s, and then they had a TV show called Alien Nation, where there's these weird aliens that come to Earth, and they look kind of like humans, but they're all bald, and they have these spots on their head, and they are obsessed with milk. They get drunk on milk. Whenever I see Jeff Nelson, I think of Alien Nation. Swishy thinks the Yankees are going to blow the division. Let's slow our roll a little bit here. I mean, you still got a nice, healthy lead. This was a tough game, but you got Pittsburgh coming up. Still the Rays and Toronto have tough schedules ahead of them. Yankees can still win this thing, but they've got to play better baseball than they did tonight. And you got to stop running Hicks out there. You got to stop playing games with Peraza, or start playing games with Peraza.
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
Wayne J says Nelson did a fine job. I agree. I thought he was great. He's a good analyst. He's got a radio show, I think, on MLB Network Radio. I used to listen to MLB Network Radio all the time when I commuted because I had Sirius XM in the car, and it just stays on the baseball station. But I don't drive anymore. I work from home now, so I never get to listen to the radio. I watch MLB Network sometimes, but I don't think he's ever on there anymore. Sam Chrisley, with a valid point, says that opposing pitchers no longer fear Stanton. You're correct. They're going right after him, and he's not doing much. He's struggling with the fastball, which is tough. I was hoping that he would build momentum off of that double that he had to close out the homestand. If you watched the last game, he hit a scorching double over the center fielder's head, and I thought maybe, he's getting his timing back and he'll come out strong in Milwaukee, away from the New York fans who've been kind of tough on him the last couple of weeks since coming back. But no such luck. Tough night for Giancarlo Stanton. Jack Wagner says, paging Peraza. Chris Mack says DFA Montas. There's no way they're going to do that. I mean, you just emptied the farm for him. The time to not have Montas was at the trade deadline. And look, as Yankees fans, we probably would have been upset if the Yankees didn't do anything to address the rotation. But to me, that would have said, hey, we believe in some of the young kids. I would have been perfectly fine. And if you go back and watch some of my videos from earlier this summer, I would have been fine with the Yankees using Ken Waldichuk as their late season replacement to eat up some innings. I don't think Montas is going to help you in the playoffs. Tonight, Michael Kay was pondering whether or not Montas would be the number 2 man in the playoffs. I wouldn't even have him on the playoff roster. I wouldn't even put him in the roster. And that's not unprecedented. That's happened with big-name pitchers that the Yankees have had before. Hideki Irabu couldn't sniff the postseason with the Yankees. In 1998, he had a pretty good year. Couldn't sniff the postseason. Kenny Rogers, 96, he made 3 starts. He got shellacked in all of them. And then I don't think the Yankees put him in a postseason game ever again. They might have even traded him the next year. I think he made it all the way through 97, but I don't think he appeared in a playoff game. He ended up getting sent to the bullpen. So, tough night. Tough night. Wompag says this team is put together with Elmer's glue. A lot of guys breaking down. A lot of guys falling apart. Rolly says, look at our batting averages. So I see 215, 221, 215, 193, 239, 201, and 2012. You got a point, Raleigh. Sorry. Dion says the home plate umpire was ass all night for both teams. 100% right.
Yeah, baby.
It was terrible. Brett says, the fact that we are going to keep running Montas out there and let Herman rot in middle relief is a problem. Also, IKF play was going to be tough with Adams running. Fair point. It was a fast runner. I'll give you that. But you got to field it and make it competitive. It was not competitive because he booted it. You expect better hands out of your shortstop. I will say he made a nice pick. On a bunt, back to the pitcher. It was a tough throw, skipping short hop, and he made a nice pick to get an out at second base. But you got to make all the plays late in the game. And I know maybe I'm sounding a little bit too harsh. There is a obviously human side of the game. These guys are human. But I expect big plays in big spots on teams like the Yankees. I mean, if you're playing on the New York Yankees, we expect you to be clutch late in the game, especially on defense. Jaden says, really wish we had Castillo.
Absolutely.
Would love to have Castillo. Jeffrey says, Montas is Sonny Gray 2.0. Honestly, Sonny Gray was even better than Montas. Montas is more like Jose Contreras 2.0. Awful. Kayagawa, however you say it, 2.0. Ijai says, even seeing the name Castillo makes me sick. I feel you. I hear you. And Fritz made a point, which I'm not seeing anymore, about how the offense basically disappeared after the second inning. The Yankees did not score in the 3rd through 8th innings, and then Josh Donaldson hit a solo home run. Too many men left on base. Team left on base tonight. Yankees left on 11. Brewers left on 12. So both teams left a lot of people on base. Brett Doy says Herman ERA since his first start in Houston is like 2.2. He's done a nice job. He really has. Miguel says IKF needs to be the DH. Just keep him off the field. He's actually a really good third baseman. I like the idea of playing him at third base, even though Donaldson gave you a little bit of offense tonight. I mean, he hasn't given you much all season. And most of the time, I would take IKF's offense over Donaldson. IKF is hitting 268. His OPS is 652, so that's not great. Donaldson, 221 with a 693, so it's a negligible difference. Neither one of them is great. And IKF's got a lot more speed, makes a lot more contact. Dr. Hitskins with the pun says, Clay not feeling at Holmes right now.
Oh, yes. I hate this. It is revolting.
Jack Wagner says, Aaron Hicks, bad luck charm. I think he's just a bad baseball player, honestly. Tony Mateo also remembers Kenny Rogers starts. It seemed like every time it was going to be 3 or 4-0 by the end of the third inning, and he was going to put you in a hole, and you had to fight back. And if you look back at that 96 postseason, the Yankees were actually trailing when he left the game in each of his 3 starts, but they came back to win. So, part of that team being such a great comeback team was that you had to, because Kenny Rogers was always putting you in a hole. Rob John says, what a waste of 4 decent prospects. You're not wrong. And Brett says, could have just kept Sears if you were going to trade Monty. All right, guys. Well, this was a tough one. It is 12:43 in the morning, so I'm going to go hit the hay. But appreciate you guys joining me. This was a tough game. Yankees play tomorrow night at 7. Not going to be an easy one. Hopefully the Yankees bring more energy than they had tonight. I will see you then. And goodbye.